Let's talk some golf swing basics. If you're learning how to play golf or you're an accomplished player, even tour players will use these ideas to try and help them get in the same position and make repeatable swings and shots each time. So today's video is really going to allow you to not make the cheap, easy mistakes, and if you're new to golf, build some foundations to allow you to enjoy. Today we're talking golf swing basics with the irons. So what we're going to address today is we're going to talk a little bit about aim, so how to set yourself up with the club, with your hands, with your body and with your swing, so your basic swing. So everything to get you really pointing yourself towards a target and hopefully hitting a ball that way, because that's one of the key things you've got to remember in this game. We need to be hitting a ball towards targets, towards green areas, away from bunkers, towards flags, towards the hole. That's the name of the game. We're trying to get this ball in the hole in as least amount of shots as possible. Now the easiest way to do that is make sure you're doing that at every stage of your golf swing basics, setup and address through to swing. And for lots of people, accomplished golfers especially, and certainly beginners as well, as you think, yeah, it's obvious, I know I'm trying to hit the ball towards the hole, but on this instance of the shot I'm going to play in this video, I'm not actually hitting it towards the flag, I'm going to hit it towards the middle of the green. So it's very clear that you have really obvious, distinct objectives and aim points that you're trying to go to, so all these basics can sync up to that target. So number one, we're going to talk about putting the club down on the ground, getting some ideas of how the club should sit on the floor. One, we're going to use the leading edge, so the front, the leading edge, not the top line, which lots of people do. So when you look down at this club, this front line here is what we want at a right angle to the line we want to hit the ball along. That's how we're aiming the club. Number two, we want to think about how the club is sat on the ground. So we want this end in the air, or do we want this end in the air, or do we want it relatively flat? Now with an iron shot, so the clubs which are the thinner ones in your bag, we want that toe a fraction in the air, but from where you're stood it will appear quite flat on the ground. The exact is kind of about here. We certainly don't want this, and we certainly don't want this, because this will lead on to how we stand to the ball as we get into stance. So once we understand we're going to point the leading edge at a right angle to the line, we want that ball to fly along in the air and our target, and we understand we don't want the handle too high or low, we need to get our hands onto this rubber end, the grip end at the top here. So the best way of doing this is to try and understand how the club face relates to the back of your lead hand. For me, my left, my gloved hand. And what we want is if the leading edge of my back of my lead hand are in line with each other, so I just put my hand out here flat in front of me with the face, so basically aligning those two angles, we need this face slightly closed, so pointing down to the ground if the club's up in the air, to the back of that lead hand, to allow you to hold it to get control of this face. So easy step for you. Place the club out parallel to the ground. This end, the top end, the toe end, we call this, straight up to the sky. Put your hand pointing straight down at your toes in front of you, nice and flat with your lead arm. Turn that face slightly down to the ground and then wrap your hand around. This is going to ensure that the face in your hand, certainly your lead hand, are synced up. And most importantly, we got the club through this part of your palm. Most common mistakes we see with grip is the club going right up through this part of your palm. So we don't want it down in the fingers. We don't want it going through the middle of the palm. We want it going through this first finger, through the crease as it meets your palm, and then right into the base of your palm, just missing the little finger as you wrap it around. Where this all sounds really complicated, if you just use this simple drill, so hand flat down at the ground, face just slightly turn it down to the ground, then grab on. It will do all the elements of your lead hand grip for you, so you don't have to think of all these intricate little points. It's a fantastic way of getting that top hand on the golf club. Now what we call your trail hand, for me, my right hand, I will interlock, meaning first finger, little finger just link underneath here. You could overlap. This little finger goes on top of this little ridge between first finger and third, or you could baseball grip. So what you do is all 10 fingers on the club. Whatever feels comfortable is absolutely fine. You will see people that play golf swear that you have to do either interlock or overlap. It's not true. I see good golfers 10 finger grip, interlock, overlap. I use an interlock grip just because it feels comfortable and I've got used to it. Now when it comes to putting the trail hand on the club, you're trying to get this now more diagonally through your fingers. So basically it's going through this part of your trail hand as it wraps on top. Lots of people get the trail hand in the palm and grab on. We don't want this. We want it going diagonally through almost the middle of your fingers as you then wrap that trail hand around the club on top. And you'll notice you're going to form a V here between thumb and first finger. If this V can come somewhere up towards trail shoulder, for me my right shoulder, this is going to be perfect for trail hand grip. Last point of call when it comes to grip pressure, lots of people fuss about how tight you should hold it. I like to see limited tension in your hands, arms and whole body, so it'll feel relatively light, but as you swing the club the pressures will change. You'll be pulling and pushing on the club, so I wouldn't fuss too much about this unless you're someone who's got the death hold, holding on too hard. That does cause quite robotronic actions. Nice big breath. Chill down, nice and relaxed. We want some movement, but you still need to swing this and you're going to hold on, so a medium pressure. So with our grip established now, what we're going to do is still make sure that face is right angle to the line we want to hit the ball along, and we're going to start taking our stance. Notice how I start with my feet close together. You can see loads of players do this, so my feet are almost touching. I am basically opposite the ball, so the ball, if I draw a straight line in towards the middle of my feet, and I'm going to take my width for stance with my feet, keeping that ball somewhere towards the middle to front part of my stance. So I've got the ball basically an inch forward of the center. So if anything, I'm taking a slightly wider stance with my trail foot, but hardly at all. And when it comes to my width for stance, what I'm doing is I'm making sure I've got the inside of my 2 feet as wide as my hips. So my hips are forming with my feet this nice little triangle, which is going to give me some stability to allow me to make the basic golf swing when we come to it. Then you've got to lean over, you've got to get into some kind of posture to hit the ball. Easiest way to just check your posture, you're going to notice I'm establishing the process each time, trying to make sure hands, face are all synced in. Then I'm going to set my width for stance, and then finally posture. Once I'm in this position, I'm just going to stand bolt upright with my body, club somewhere parallel to the ground. I'm going to lean forward from my belt buckle here to put the club on the ground. This is going to give me my distance from the ball while at the same time giving me good pelvis tilts forward, get my chest coming down to the ground, and at the same time then keeping my back relatively comfortably straight. We don't need to be bolt straight, but we do want to get rid of these tucked under pelvises here, rounded shoulders. These don't help golfers at all. So what I want to do for you now, I'm just going to hit a shot to show you how someone who plays and has played for a long time will use all these ideas to hit a shot almost seamlessly. So you're going to see each point happen in a shot. So at the start, for a new golfer, it's going to feel slow and kind of too forced almost, but that's why you're going to need to practice it. If you're an established golfer and you're not checking these points, you need to be using this video to make sure these points are being ticked off. So I'm going to establish my target, take my hold, ball position, a little bit of posture check, and now I'm ready to hit it. So if you get a chance to watch golf on telly, you will see these checks happening in other ways. They might not do the grip here, they might do it here, they might even do the grip down here, but they're still checking it. They're going to be making their posture and width for stance and stance, ball position all happen seamlessly at the same time, but they're doing it. They're doing these checks to make sure they're in the same place each time. New golfers, you need to be doing it. Established golfers definitely need to be doing it. Now in this video, I'm hitting a medium iron, what we call an 8 iron. I had the ball position just slightly forward of center. Remember when I take my width for stance? These are the basics. That gives you an idea of where the ball position should be. Just remember, as the loft comes off the face, so each one of your irons has a different amount of bend back with the head, so a different amount of loft. You want to just edge that ball towards your lead foot a fraction. But we'll come more to that in other videos as we go more into depth of what you need to do to hit more consistent shots with every club. Now the golf swing is quite a complex movement. You've got every part of your body twisting, turning, pulling and pushing. There's lots that you can learn, but we want to make a basic swing. You want to just get in your head a movement that allows you to push that ball forwards. With an iron and all your clubs, we want it to go in the air. Now we want to establish with an iron that you do actually want the club to be hitting down at this ball. With a driver, you actually hit up at the ball. We're going to have a driver swing basics coming as well, so look out for that one. Now when it comes to your iron shots, you've got your set up, you're ready to go. Where are we going with this club? What are we doing? Really simple triggers for this basic golf swing. I want you to start to become aware of each one of your shoulders. Trail to lead shoulder, lead my left, trail my right. And then I want you to be aware of where your hands are moving as they go around your body. So simple as, if you think now my hands are underneath my head. My hands are above my head, my hands are over lead shoulder. my hands are over trail shoulder. And the swing can be as basic as this if you get those setup fundamentals and basics in place. I have done this swing fort with established golfers, and I have done it with new golfers who are learning to play golf or want to know how to play golf in a consistent way, because it's so simplistic, but it really triggers good forts with golfers. So from your setup position, so again, if we just go through the process, remember we're going to do it each time to try and keep getting in the same positions for some level of consistency in your performance. Now, from my hands being underneath my head somewhat, I want to get them over my trail shoulder. This is going to require me to get my hips turning with a little bit of tilt, my shoulders turning with some tilt, and in turn pushing my hands up to get them over trail shoulder. So the easiest way to do this, remember we talked about understand where your shoulders and your hands are. I want your shoulders turning so your back starts to face the target a little bit more in your mind, but you want your lead shoulder coming down, trail shoulder going up, to make sure your hands are getting up over trail shoulder. This is such a great checkpoint for so many golfers. It can help you get rid of these actions, these kind of actions, all these kind of messy golf swings that we see with amateurs. Simply getting your hands from underneath your head over trail shoulder up in the air, so they're away from trail shoulder but up in the air as your shoulders turn and tilt, basically sets a backswing on a beautiful path and a beautiful angle to try and send that ball out towards that target. Because remember, we are stood not on top of the ball swinging in a straight line, we're stood to the side of the ball, so the club will tend to curve back in towards us as it goes up in the air, and it'll start to come back down and out towards the ball as it comes down, and then it'll come back inside and around us on the way through. It's doing a straight line but on a tilt. It's on a plane, a curved but directional circle. The better golfers get at syncing up their arms, so their hand movements in turn with their body movements, the better they are at directing the ball where they want it to go. So let's just push that idea on a little bit more with this backswing. Let's pretend my target now moves off to the right. Everything just shifts here now to the right. Same process, but pointing face, pointing body off to the right, and then shoulder down, hands up to turn around to swing out more towards that target. And the same if we were going this way. Now, with that idea of backswing and that we're pushing it in a direction, this now allows us to start thinking about where our feet and body is aligned to make sure it all syncs up. So this is an extreme idea. I'm pointing the face at the target. I've got really good grip, my posture's good, ball somewhere towards the middle of my stance. But you can see where my feet are pointing. They're ridiculous, they're pointing over there. And my body alignment tends to be that way too. Now, my hands are over trail shoulder at this point, but the direction of my swing tends to follow the lines of my body. So we want to get hands over trail shoulder, and then we're going to do similar ideas on the way through, which we'll come to, but we've got to make sure our body is aligned in the direction we want this to go as well. So we need you to start thinking of train track basic ideas. Putting our face where we want that ball to go. We're taking our setup, we're getting our posture and our width for stance. Now I'm going to try and make sure this imaginary line on the ground here is aligned with my knees, my feet, my hips, my shoulders. I'm orienteering myself towards the direction I want the ball to go, and in turn where I want to turn and swing this curved directional line, this kind of swing path out towards. So for lots of golfers, even though that feels a little bit counterintuitive, so we've kind of gone, oh, backswing, but we're coming back to aim. For me and lots of my students, it's not. I like them to do the actual action that we're talking about and then hit some shots in the wrong direction for them to self-learn about the ideas of, like, you've got great basic golf swings there, but we need to orientate them, like I said at the start, towards a target, and your body can assist with those ideas. So where do we go from shoulders, hands over trail shoulder? It's this simple. On the way down to on the way through, I want you trying to get them over lead shoulder on the way through. Again, this requires turns, so body, hips, chest starting to face up towards target as you rotate your body, and trail shoulder starting to come down towards the ball and through. So we've got these tilts to make sure the hands get up in the air. This gets rid of these kind of horrible ideas of these follow throughs and kind of people trying to do these where it wraps around their body holding onto the ball. It's as basic as getting your body to twist and turn back to target, chest to target with some tilts, with your hands getting over lead shoulder or trail shoulder, and then over lead, not on, not down. We want them over, which will create some nice width of arc, which will get your club connecting with that ball and then that turf second and allow you to make some really pure strikes. And then the last basic I want you to be really aware of, because you're kind of ready to go, you're pointing your face, you're setting your grip, you're setting your stance, you're then orientating yourself to where you want to go in line with your target in that leading edge. We are over trail shoulder, over lead shoulder as we turn. Don't be afraid to let trail foot come up, which will allow you to keep your body rotating on the way through as well. Now what we need to do is be aware of where we are in relationship to the ball when we do this. So as we started the swing, I had the ball just forward of center, getting my body kind of facing up to the ball. I've turned away from the ball. I've got to get back towards facing that ball to get round to facing that target. What makes striking really hard for golfers, and you can do all these basics we've talked about, is if you do these movements and you start pulling off the ball and then in turn maybe swaying back towards it, or pulling off the ball as you do it and staying there and then trying to do the actions as you come through. That's going to cause horrible fats, fins, horrible shots. Don't go up in the air and don't fly towards your target. So we are over the ball as we start and we're trying to get our hands over shoulders and over shoulders. Let's just try and stay with that ball with our irons to make sure the connection is somewhere down towards that ball and then the ground next. And the best way to do this with students is, guess what? Is to get them to feel all the movement. So I want you to do a turn and tilt, hands up over trail shoulder where you feel like your chest is still kind of over the ball somewhere. Then I want you to do one where you feel like you get way behind the ball. Then I want you to do one there where you almost feel like you lean forward of the ball. You can even hit some shots this way. It'll really allow you to identify your turns and movements as you go. And the one we want is that basic one. Shoulders turning, lead shoulder down, trail shoulder up, hands up over trail shoulder. But I am still very much over this golf ball. And then on the way through, I'm going to turn. Let this shoulder come down, lead shoulder comes up, hands up. I'm still somewhere with where that ball was. I've not chased it forwards because I'm getting some tilts as well in my body. If we can connect these movements up, you'll be shocked how simple this feels and how good the shots become. So it sounds like loads to think about. And if you're a new golfer, it is a lot to think about. If you're an established golfer, it's a lot to think about, and often lots of you have forgotten to keep thinking about these ideas and you've gone into some horrible kind of patterns because you're comfortable. Going back to these basics, if you're learning how to play golf or you've played for years, it's just crucial for consistent golf. And obviously when you get on the golf course and play it again, you've got to put all these ideas together. So how do you put these golf ideas and swing and movements all into your shot and together when you're out here on the course, concentrating on not hitting it in those trees or that bunker? Well, you have a process, and it's important that you practice your process so it becomes seamless. Again, see how I'm ready to go. See how seamless and quick that was. That isn't luck, that's me practicing. And then the only other thing you could add is you're waiting for your playing partner to play over there and you're not put them off. You might do a couple of practice swings. You might think, yeah, that's my hands over this shoulder, over this shoulder. That's me doing it over the ball, over the ball. They've hit their shot. Right, I've done my practice swings. I'm going to pick my target, establish my grip, take my stance, check my posture, and then I'm going to work those movements into my golf shots. Boom. Simple, easy, and a pretty good shot. Let me know if these ideas help, and if they do, post in a comment down below. Let me know if you're an established golfer or a new golfer that this has helped. If you want to learn how to do these ideas and improve your driver with some basics, this video is helping a lot of golfers.